All right, so the final 15 minutes before lunch, which is happening downstairs, is going to be from LUDWIG TRAPPE. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, LUDWIG TRAPPE. He's with Crust. He's the business development lead, and he's just going to plug in very quickly. So I'll give him a few seconds. Limo, come up here, brother. While we give him a few seconds, just get up here. Come on. Also, Yulia, please stand. Yulia is the new Polkadot queen on Twitter. If you guys are not following Yulia, she is she's community development and community manager at Zeitgeist, which is where I am. I haven't even introduced myself, but you can follow her on Twitter. What is the username, Yulia? It's got to be easy, okay? Number one rule of Twitter, make easy usernames, okay? So I'm going to retweet one of her tweets on our Zeitgeist account, which is very easy, Zeitgeist PM, and that's where you can find us. And then make sure you're following Yulia. She's growing her Twitter following. Great to have you in Paris, Yulia. Right, Limo, sir, what is your username on Twitter?
LimoXD.
Limo_XD, right? No underscore. Limo underscore. No underscore. Limo XD. Okay. Limo, tell us, what do you think about OpenGov? You are the great governance guru of Polkadot. What are your feelings at the moment of OpenGov?
What, like in regards to spending or?
In terms of, is it the right move for Polkadot? Do you feel like this is going places, or does it feel like it's still too early to make a judgment?
OpenGov's like the first permissionless self-executing governance model in Web3. Other ecos like Arbitrum, people vote on something and then the dev team has to implement it. So I think it is the right way to go. I think most people just get annoyed about the spending and whales and stuff, but the way to counter that is increase voter turnout by delegations. So,
speaking of whales, do you know who Hacken is?
Yes, I did meet that person in Copenhagen.
Wow. So Hacken is around. Are they in Paris?
I'm not sure.
All right. Are you willing to dox them?
I think they dox themselves a lot.
Oh, did that? I have not heard that yet. Well, Limo, thank you for coming up on stage on the cuff like that. And when are you on stage next?
At 2:30 today.
Main stage, 2:30 p.m. Thank you so much. Limo, ladies and gentlemen, from Nova Wallet, Chief Nice Officer. Right, okay, so you have exactly 15 minutes. LUDWIG, he's going to be talking about data ownership with decentralized storage, and then lunch is happening downstairs, -1 on the elevator. LUDWIG, take it away.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I try to stay in time. I don't want to keep you away from your deserved lunch. I'm LUDWIG TRAPPE. I'm business development lead at Crust Network. On Twitter, I'm the Jesus Crust. I'm a little bit sorry for my slide design. The black background doesn't work the best on this, but we will make it happen. All right. For today, I want to talk to you about decentralized storage and how it helps to achieve data ownership in Web3, and also how Crust Network gets into play. And for today's talk, I basically want to answer 3 fundamental questions. The first one would be, what is decentralized storage? Then, why is it so important? Why do we need it? And third, how does Crust Network make it happen? And to start, I want to present you this specific graphic. This shows the amount of total data on a global scale created, stored, and consumed. And currently in 2023, we handle around 330 million terabytes of data on a daily basis. And I think looking at this graph, it's quite clear where this is going. If all of our portfolios only would look like this. But with data keeps growing, and with the growing data, we also have a growing demand of data storage capacities to make all of this happen. And we don't just collect more and more data, we also become more reliant on this data. And what personally concerns me about this trend is that when looking at where this data is stored or where this data is handled, then 65% of all of it is in the hands of the 3 big players in the cloud market. And this obviously is a huge concentration of power, centralization, and something we want to avoid in Web3. But Also looking at the evolutional timeline of data storage systems over the time, we can draw a lot of similarities between the transformation of ownership from Web 1 to Web 3. So in the beginning of the digital data storage era, we were used to store our data on our own hard drives, our own infrastructure, our own servers, and we were the only ones in control of it. But the issue was that this came with some downsides, so it was quite hard to manage those resources. It wasn't dynamic. It was hard to share the data or to access this data from anywhere or from multiple devices. And with Web 2 and centralized cloud services, we gained a lot of convenience. So suddenly we were able to access our data from anywhere to any time. We were able to scale our resources with just a few clicks of buttons. And the trade-off of this was that suddenly we weren't the only one in control of our data anymore. We had to put our full trust in those third parties, in those large institutions who are gatekeeping our data. And now with Web 3 and with the help of decentralized storage, we actually have the opportunity to combine the benefits out of both worlds, which means on the one hand, we can own the data in the same way as if we own it on our own infrastructure. And secondly, we still can maintain the accessibility and convenience we gained through Web 2. And the best of all of this is we don't have to put our trust in anyone because everything is backed up by a trustless blockchain protocol. But the data ownership and trust issue is by far not the only downside to centralized services. Another big disadvantage is the centralized single point of failure architecture those centralized services usually run on. This means that those services are highly exposed to outages, to security breaches, or any other kind of showstopper events. Also, the data can be censored, it can be muted. And with decentralized storage, on the other hand, there is not one single entity in control of your data. Everything is backed up via a distributed network of nodes that are all backed up and secured by blockchain technology. And this data is also totally censorship resistant, it's totally unstoppable, and can't be muted by anyone. So since we know now what decentralized storage is and why is it so important, I want to talk to you about what we do, what Crust Network does. And Crust Network is a layer 1 blockchain and decentralized protocol for storage services in Web 3 and beyond. And we actually are built on top of IPFS. And IPFS is quite important to us. And for those of you who don't know what IPFS is, I want to take a quick loop. Because IPFS is a peer-to-peer storage protocol for distributed file storage. It's almost can be compared like a kind of torrent kind of system where we have a network of multiple nodes contributing their resources to a shared network. It's a beautiful thing. It comes with immutability by design. It comes with CID, so it's a way to address the content directly instead of the location where it's located. But it comes with some big flaws. And those flaws, for example, are that it isn't incentivized. What does that mean? This means that those node operators providing their resources to the network don't receive any rewards for their resources or for the effort they do. On the other hand, the users who want to make use out of those resources don't get any specific service guarantees. And this obviously is a huge downside when we talk about persistence of data and permanent data. We want to make sure that our data stays available, is replicated, and so on. So in other words, when you as a user want to use the default IPFS network, you can upload your data, you can use it totally for free, but there's no guarantee for how long your data will be maintained or for how many nodes will pick up your data to create replications. And that's exactly where Crust Network comes into play. We provide this incentive and service layer on top of IPFS, which basically gives node operators the chance to receive rewards from blockchain emissions and from storage fees for providing their resources. And on the other hand, this protocol also matches those resources with users who have a demand for decentralized storage resources. And I also want to have a quick look at our network metrics. I hope you can see it. So at the moment, we currently have around 1,600 individual nodes contributing their storage resources to our network, which makes up to around 700 petabytes or 700,000 terabytes of data. Our mainnet launched in September 2021. And since then, we processed more than 1.8 million file uploads and storage orders. But it's not just those 1.8 million files that live on Crust Network. We have a multi-replica approach And we ensure, on average, around 33 replications per file distributed over our entire network to also ensure decentralization on the most physical file level. But what services can we build on top of this infrastructure and protocol? So to sum it up, you can categorize our services in 3 different categories. The first one is our Crust IPFS gateway services. With those services, you basically get your data to the IPFS network, to Crust network, and you also can retrieve your data via those gateways. Compared to other providers, we don't charge for any file retrievals. We don't put any limitations on file retrievals. Everything is included in our storage fee. Then the IPFS pinning service, probably our most popular service, which makes sure that your data stays on the IPFS network, is pinned to our nodes for as long as you want to, and this is fixed in the smart contract. And again, we use a multi-replica approach to have a lot of replications distributed over the network. And last but not least, we have our Crust file query services. This basically offers different Explorer tools to validate your files and to get the status update of your file order. But let's get a little bit more hands-on. So what can you do with this? In general, basically every application, every solution, service, which is built in a digital world, usually has some kind of requirements for data storage, even if it's just hosting of your front end. And I just want to mention a few of those popular use cases we realize with a lot of our partners. The very first one is decentralized hosting of applications and websites. And we actually do that with Uniswap, with Avi, with Polkadot apps, where we host the front end via Crust network to ensure decentralization, to ensure censorship resistance, and to basically make the homepage unstoppable. We also work with NFT metadata storage. Most of you probably know not all the metadata or not all NFT data is stored on chain usually because it's super expensive and super hard to scale. But storing your data in an off-chain environment doesn't mean you need to rely on centralized services. Again, you can use Crust network on IPFS and your data is totally immutable, permanent, and secured. And also we do public and encrypted file storage. I could sum up a lot of different projects in this niche, but just to mention a few, Robonomics, we store machine data collected by Robonomics on Crust network. For Polkadot, for example, we store the backup of their decentralized order book on Crust network. But from here and there, we also build some applications our own. This is Crust Files, for example, which is a decentralized version of Dropbox with a super easy to use, intuitive user interface where you can just log in with your MetaMask. And I also want to raise some awareness for a campaign we launched with our close partners from Apelon. Hi, guys. It's called Web3 Approved. And with Web3 Approved, we want to encourage builders, Web3 projects to finally practice what we preach. And we don't just want to encourage them. In fact, we want to incentivize them to go full-scale decentralization, even with their web page or your application. And what we do is we provide 100 years of free web hosting for 100 projects that join this campaign. And we even built a very easy-to-use GitHub action to make the onboarding process as easy as possible. So if you're keen to join this campaign, feel free to scan this QR code or hit me up after my talk. We would be happy to onboard you. So let's talk about interoperability a little bit, because we want to make sure that we can use our services in the most native way possible. So we have different ways to connect with Crust network. We have the cross-chain way via XAMP. This is probably the most favorable way to connect via our Polkadot projects to directly open an XAMP channel. We have our parent chains live on Polkadot and on Kusama. But we're not just limited to Polkadot, we also extend our services beyond. So we have contract-based solutions for ecosystems like Aptos, like Ethereum, Near, where we deploy our cross-chain smart contract, and they can leverage our services in the most native way. And actually, just yesterday, we improved this a little bit by launching our EVM-specific protocol, which makes our storage services even more seamless for all EVM builders and layer 2s. And also the chain-agnostic way, like you would use Pinata, for example, to pin your data, it's also possible. And before I finish my talk, I want to quickly introduce you guys to a very new product of ours. It's called Crust Cloud. And Crust Cloud is our commercial product suite on top of our protocol and infrastructure. And with Crust Cloud, we want to redefine the way we manage our storage in Web3. And we do that by introducing the concept of Web3 storage buckets. So what are Web3 storage buckets? Web3 storage buckets basically are NFTs representing a storage capacity on IPFS and Crust network. Yeah, you heard right. NFTs also can have some real-world utility. So let's have a look at those buckets. What do they promise to the user? So first of all, it's fully decentralized. All metadata and all data contained in those buckets live on Crust network. It's backed up by our blockchain protocol, and it's all NFT gated, which means when you want to access your storage capacities, you don't need any QIC, you don't need any login via email password. You own your NFT, and with this, you can access your storage capacities. And another cool thing is those buckets come in various types and sizes. So at the moment, we released our permanent bucket, which basically provides you permanent storage with a one-time upfront payment, almost like Arif does. And soon we're also going to release the renewable bucket, which is more like a subscription-based system where the user can extend this on demand. And also, yeah, as already said, those come in different sizes. You can mint your 10 gigabyte bucket, your 100 gigabyte bucket, or 1 terabyte bucket, whatever you want. So let's have a quick look at how it works. I said it's basically an NFT, and that's also how it works. So you go to our web user face on crustcloud.io. You go through our minting process, select your desired bucket, and mint this. And after you paid for it, you will receive it to your wallet where you can use it. And with this NFT in your wallet, you can access your storage capacities either via RESTful APIs or via just using our web interface. And like any other NFT as well, you can transfer it between different accounts, or you can trade it on different marketplaces, like OpenSea. And here you see a small screenshot from our user interface. But what really gets me excited about this new concept is that for the very first time, we will be able to own our data storage resources and our data within those capacities in the same way we own any other on-chain assets. Think about your tokens. Think about your NFTs, your liquidity positions, even your liquid staking positions. For all of them, you have full proof of ownership on-chain. All of them you can own in your non-custodial wallet. All of them you can transfer freely between different accounts. And all of them you can trade on marketplaces and exchanges. Why can't we do that for our data yet? And with this kind of concept of using NFTs to represent data capacities, we finally have the chance to do that. And I'm super excited to see all those new use cases that are built on top of this new way of interpreting data storage in Web3. And this will open the doors for a lot of interesting and cool stuff because we can put the power back to the user. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ludwig. Look, considering, I mean, you drew the long straw in that you were right before lunch. So considering we have a little bit of time going into lunch, does anyone have a question that you'd like to ask Ludwig? Any questions? Okay, no questions. I will ask one. It's just about your Twitter profile, _Jesus Crust.
Correct.
That is a punk, right? As your profile picture.
It's a derivated version of it.
It's okay, all right.
It's
I was
not
going to say, do you
original punk.
own an original punk? Because,
Nah, unfortunately
I mean,
not.
you don't need to be working anymore, bro, if you own an original punk, assuming you sold at the top. All right, well, Ludwig, really great to hear what you guys are doing at Crust. Thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause.